Hi, welcome to Crappie. I was out here working on a rod, getting my rig set up because I haven't been fishing here lately, haven't got to fish, and trying to get everything kind of reorganized and retied. I've got stuff strode everywhere, and I was tying on a slip bobber, and I got it all rigged up. Looks good right here, and I thought, you know, I may do this a little different than some of y'all do it or the way you've seen it done before. And I thought I might be taking somebody else fishing with me. So I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and tie another one up and I'll video it and explain what I do and what, you may have seen it done this way before, you may not, but got some tips and tricks, and then hopefully in the next coming days I can get out on the water and show you some fish catches with the rig that I've got rigged up right here. So what I've done is I got a smaller rod here. This is, I think, a 6.5 foot, or maybe, no, this is a 5.5 foot light action rod with a spinning reel. I got 6-pound monofilament on it, and I'm just going to tie up a slip rig for crappie fishing or bluegill fishing or whatever you want to try to target, or whatever bites on your rig. So you start out, you got the line through all the eyelets and everything like that, and I'm going to go with my slip bobber right here. And I actually tested this earlier to see how much weight I could put on it and it still float. And I was able to actually put up to a 1/8 ounce. So that's what we're going to be using today. That should help get our minnow or whatever bait that's on the end of our hook down deeper, because we're probably going to be targeting fish anywhere from 10 to 12 feet of water. So it's going to be going down quite a ways, and we want it to get there a little bit quicker than not. So got my slip bobber. I'm going to run this on here. Some of you may be saying, hey, if you're running a slip float, you need to put your bobber stopper on. And I'm going to show you what I use for a bobber stopper. I have the other bobber stoppers and I like using those, but if you don't have those, or you've already put your bobber on like what we're going to do, you can use 50-pound braid, and I will show you how you can make a wonderful bobber stopper out of 50-pound braid. So I got my bobber stopper on here, or not my bobber stopper, I got my bobber, and I'm going to get me a 1/8 ounce bullet weight, and just like what we did on our live scope jig setup, we'll take that bullet weight and I'm just going to wrap my line around it. A lot of times, and I've used it and been successful with it, you might use a split shot or like a jig head, but in this instance, if we're going to be using live bait, then for this type of rig, we're going to be using live bait. We don't want to necessarily have a jig head on it. We want to use a regular bluegill hook. Then we're going to go with this setup here. Knot for this. Just use a loop knot. It gives that hook a little bit more freedom to turn. If you have a bigger minnow on there, it's going to be able to move it around and do things with it. So just the same thing. Slide that on there right. Trim the excess off. It's just going to be able to float, free float. It's a smaller hook. It's number 4. Sometimes you use number 2, sometimes you use number 4. In this instance, the 6-pound line, a little bit, more finesse presentation. We're going to go with the 4. And this kind of setup is, primarily what we want to be doing is jig fishing. I feel like we have more control with jig fishing. I feel like, better chance with hook sets, the less fish lost. But if you're going up onto that pile and you're spooking those fish and you're not being able to get those fish to come out from it, you may need to look at backing off of the pile, and it may not be that one. You may need to look at your next spot before you get up there to it to where you would drop on it. Have you a slip float rigged up? I mean, if you're using live scope, you can see how far down they are. They're going to be, say you're setting in 17 foot of water, your structure comes up to 14 foot. You may run 12, 13 foot out. Stop your bobber stopper there at 13 foot, pitch right over it. Your bait's going to fall right down there into the sweet spot and that may be just enough that where if that boat's moved off of them, they're not pressured. It may be entice a bite. So we've got everything tied on, but we have not got our bobber stopper on yet. So here's the bobber, everything like this, and I'm going to let a little bit more line out. But I'm right at 5'11", 6 foot tall, so I say whenever I have a wingspan of 6 foot, I can stretch it out. Right there is 6 foot. And that there is going to be close to 12. It might be more like 11 and a half, but right there. So I don't want to go all that away, so I'm going to come back about halfway. This here is going to get us right into that 9 to 10 foot range. And we can adjust off of it using our live scope. Now, you're wondering how we're going to get this tied on. Take this 50-pound braid. This here is actually trialing, but sure you can use whatever you want. Give yourself plenty of it. I mean, you know, you're going to end up just having a little bitty knot, but you want to have plenty of line to be able to make that knot. So cut yourself off, plenty of it there. And you're going to take this here, take your line, and I like to use my finger just to get started with. But you're going to take this here, leave a little tag, and then you're just going to wrap this about 5 times around your finger, leaving it loose so you can get your finger out. Around your finger and around the line. There's 3, 4. And you're going to try to keep them in somewhat together. There's 5. Alright, now you can take this end and run it in under the line, just like so. And then you're going to take the other end and run it in under the line. So we've wrapped it around our finger. We've got our fluorescent line where the bobber stop's going to be attached to. It's going around that. We've wrapped it 5 times, and then you don't come out and around, you go back through. So the tag end that's on the right starts on the right, goes through the holes, comes out the left. Once on the left is going to go back through the loops and come out to the right. And then you're going to grab a hold of them, trying to keep them as best as you can, and go slow with this because you're going to be taking up slack. And try to keep them in the order that they're in as best you can. And you know, this here doesn't work perfect every time. You may have to cut off and retry it. But this is a way to do it without having, if you don't have bobber stoppers, and you've got some extra braided line, you take it just like this. Don't get in too big a hurry, because this, once it catches, it's going to be tough. And just keep making it smaller and smaller, and try to keep each of your loops in together as best you can. And this is something you practice while you're sitting there, wife's watching TV, a cooking show, kids are watching TV or whatever, and you're just, you know, spending time with them. You can practice this, especially in the winter. Pulling it, and then you get so close. Just bring them in there. And pull them tight. There you go. That's your bobber stopper. You pull that tight. If you feel like it, you know, you'll see, depending on what kind of bobber you're using. I'm using Walmart Special. little just styrofoam bobbers. This one here actually isn't the bobber stopper one, but I'll show you. Make sure it's the slip bobber. But if you feel like your hole for your bobber is too wide, you may have to leave a little tag ends. So you just cut these ends off here, and that's going to be right there. Here's the motor truth. It's just going, and there it is. It stops right there. Now it's probably hard to see on that camera. There it is, it stopped. But it's also very low profile, so it's going to go right through the eyelets in our rod. I'm standing on everything here. This 5'6" rod, this is going to be perfect for maybe a kid or somebody that not as experienced, a little shorter statue. This here is going to be a little bit easier for them to handle than some of the bigger rods. As you see, you got, and this may be a little too much. If it is, we can always just trim it down and maybe bring it on into here, get it closer to our sinker. But that sinker is going to just fall right down, and I've already checked it in the sink. I took this here, tied all this up, put a bobber stopper right here, filled the sink up, dropped it in there, and this will float. So it has been tested. So this is the way I do it. Y'all may find a better way on the internet. I don't know. I used this the other day and it worked. I didn't get any footage of it. Didn't have my camera with me. But maybe in the next coming days I can get back out on the lake, have this set up, get some footage of the bobber going under. Be a little bit different what y'all been seeing of just a live scope and my back. But we'll try to show you what the bobber. I don't know. I did this earlier in the spring, and I can't remember if, I know I could see my bait suspended in the water. I can't remember if I could see the bobber on top of the water or not. It almost seems like I remember seeing the bobber too. But we'll see if we can get some live scope footage of what it looks like sitting there, some fish catches, and we'll get all that to you hopefully Sunday morning. So we're going to get this edited and check in with us on Sunday. Thank you.